Thanks for stopping by. Here's how I made this tumbler. I started with a cut file from Tumbled Over Designs. I'll link it in the description. It's a Dino Tumbler Burst file. For this one, I decided to use sand instead of glitter for the majority of the design. This sand is from Hobby Lobby, and I'll link that below as well. So I'm not super crazy about the double-sided tape that I used for this project, but I will link it below. It was from Amazon. I am using a Cricut Maker, so I cut this double-sided tape using the washi setting, more pressure, but there were still spots that were pretty tricky to get weeded correctly. I decided to complete all of the colors on the tumbler before placing the tape on the tumbler. It's just my personal preference, but we'll see in a little while that did not exactly lead to a perfect lineup for me. But anyway, the next few sections you'll see are just me applying the sand color by color to the template before attempting to apply it to my tumbler. The tumbler that you'll see coming up is base painted with a white spray paint and then several coats of a glow-in-the-dark spray paint so that the entire base was a glow base before the template is attached. Okay, so to try and enhance the glow on the entire template, I used a glow-in-the-dark glitter from Hobby Lobby over the outlines of the dinosaurs. All right, at this point, I have completed all of the coloring of the parts of the template. I'm attempting to line it up to make sure that it will line up nicely. But yeah, I was not very successful at videoing my application. I actually struggled quite a bit with getting this template on. And ultimately, I'm not happy with the seam, with the way that it overlapped. In hindsight, I wish I would have done a little bit more work getting that seam perfectly lined up and not overlapping at all. But here you go, keeping it real with you. You get to see what happened. All right, so now I'm ready to start applying my Hyperion. I did not seal this at all. I did do a dry brush just to make sure there was no loose sand or glitter. And because this was double-sided tape, there really was not any loose particles of any kind. So I'm going right in with my Hyperion. This was a 12-ounce kids tumbler. So I went in with just under 7.5 mLs for my very first application. I'm using a fan brush and I'm using a measuring cup to measure out how many mLs. You'll notice that it goes on slightly milky, and that's exactly how it's supposed to look, but it dries crystal clear. There's that seam that I talked about. Not loving it. I waited 2 hours and now I'm back to do coat number 2. Coat number 3, still using the same method, measuring out the appropriate mLs and applying them with a fan brush. Okay, so normally I would be sanding right now because I've already done 3 layers. But because of the seam on this cup, I did an additional layer of Hyperion before my first sand. So this is layer 4. Okay, so I've applied 4 layers of Hyperion and now I'm ready to sand this tumbler. I use these 400 grit sanding sponges. They are available for sale on my website along with the Hyperion and the measuring cups. I'm doing a light sand, and that's important at this point because you want to knock down any areas that are uneven. You don't have to sand too aggressively, but you do want to do a light sand at this point so that you're not just continuing to build over any areas that might be slightly uneven. Hyperion is self-leveling, but you do want to help it along by doing this first sand. We recommend after level 3, but again, in this case, I did 4 layers because of that pesky seam sticking up and creating some unevenness on my tumbler. A quick wipe down with a damp coffee filter. You do not need to use any kind of cleaner. Please do not use alcohol or acetone, anything else. A damp cloth, in this case coffee filter, and you should be ready to go to apply your next layer of Hyperion. Here we go. What am I using? You got it. Hyperion, a fan brush, and a measuring cup. This is layer 5 going on. Ooh, nice and smooth. Layer 6 going on. And because we did that sanding after layer 4, we've got a really nice smooth base. The Hyperion is going on nicely. Look at that nice shine. I think I may have accidentally recorded myself after I put the layer on and was moving to the next cup. So I must have thought I was hitting stop when I was actually hitting start. But you can see it rotating with that 5th layer of Hyperion on. I did end up doing 1 more layer. So I ended up 6 layers of Hyperion, and you can see that shine. It's a pretty cloudy day outside, so there's not much sun to work with, but we've got a nice, smooth, shiny cup. And this is the cup all done. Remember, I did a glow-in-the-dark base, and then I added on glow-in-the-dark glitter for those outside outlines. I'm really, really happy with the way the cup looks in the dark and in the light. Get your Hyperion from the link below.